The Family Computer, or Famicom for short, was a huge monster of a hit in Japan. Masayuki Yumura was the creator and brains behind this system. It was released in Japan on July 15th, 1983 for over 14,000 yen. Just please don't ask me to do the conversions.
All I know is, that's a lot of yen.
With the launch of the system came 3 impressive arcade ports, Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong Jr., and Popeye. They were great games and were a tremendous amount of fun. I remember first playing Popeye in the arcade back in the day. Overall, the games were pretty awesome. The system itself was pretty great. The graphics were unlike anything anyone had ever seen up to this point, and the Japanese simply loved it. Unfortunately, the market in North America was a little different, and people were not so into it. Probably because it was like, oh, another home gaming machine. Been there, done that.
Shame. If only they knew.
The guys who wanted to bring this bad boy to the States showed it off at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and the system was released to a limited market in October 1985 and received a makeover. Then the following February, the NES or Famicom had its major market release with the biggest title of all time. Nintendo had a pile of games that were launched with the system's first official big release here in the States, like Duck Hunt, Kung Fu, Tennis, and Hogan's Alley. But Super Mario Bros. Was the big one. I mean, just look at how impressive this side-scrolling action platformer must have been to people at this time. The graphics were great, the sound was, of course, classic, the characters were a lot of fun, and it was challenging. The play control, at least to me, since I played the actual arcade, was way better than its coin-op counterpart.
You know, I hated playing the arcade when I was little. Probably because I hated playing with joysticks, because at the time I was used to playing with these things. And to me, the arcade was just so much more annoying and so much more frustrating. Probably because the joysticks, which I hated, were like way over here, and the buttons, the A and B buttons, were like way over here. So it was just very awkward to play with. And it was just that much more annoying to me. And in the arcade, I couldn't even get through the first stage, and that's not a lie. I really couldn't get through the first level. But at home, playing Super Mario Bros., I could beat the whole game in like 25 minutes, hitting all the warp zones. Not kidding. However, with the arcade, it would take like $25 worth of quarters just to get through the first stinking level.
Anyways, today's gamer owes quite a bit to this man, Shigeru Miyamoto, mastermind and legendary designer behind Donkey Kong and later Super Mario Bros. Mario was and still is one of the greatest video game characters ever made, so much so that he needs a Classic Junkie episode devoted only to him, and of course his brother Luigi.
Now, when the system was starting to be released, it was sold in bundle packs. Now, what that means is that the NES wasn't just sold by itself. It was sold with game cartridges and certain accessories.
The first pack was released with the system, 2 controllers, and Super Mario Bros. For about $200. That's about $400 today. The second pack, and this was the deluxe set, came with the Rob the Robot accessory, a light gun, as well as Duck Hunt and Gyromite. This went for like $50 to $100 more.
You know, I'm not really this bad. It's just that this gun is like 20 years old and the game just cheats. Anyways, shortly after the release of these bundle packs, the more familiar bundle pack was released in 1988, and that's the action set. That's the one that we got. It came with 2 controllers, Zapper, the console itself, and the Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt game cartridge, which was pretty cool because, it was the 2-in-1. It was, 2 games in 1, Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. There were also a lot of other sets that released as well. This is Super Spike V-Ball and Nintendo World Cup. Now, this was released in 1990 in what was called the Nintendo Sports Bundle Pack, I guess. It came with a really cool 4-player multi-adapter thing, so you can kind of plug in with 3 other people and beat their brains out in volleyball or soccer or some other game that the adapter was compatible with. Unfortunately, we didn't have any other games that were compatible with it, we just had this one. And this came with another Nintendo that my dad bought. I guess our controllers were worn out at the time, and my dad couldn't find it at the store, so we just ended up buying a whole other Nintendo system. And by this time, I guess they were kind of reasonable, so I guess that's why he ended up getting it. So this is the only game that we had that was compatible with it. Unfortunately, I don't have the multiplayer adapter thing anymore, but I still got the game.
And the final release was the Nintendo's top loader system. Totally redesigned top loading system for much easier connections. No more blinking screen of death or blowing into the game packs or anything like that. This was the final 8-bit NES system that came out in 1993 before the system's official end, which was October 1995.
There's just way too much stuff to cover in just one shot, just one visit. Just way too much stuff. So we're going to have to revisit this and maybe look at some other stuff in detail. I don't know, maybe some of the games or something. We'll see in the future, I don't know. But in the meantime, we've got some more awesome and classic stuff coming up. So today, we just kind of took you on a real short, condensed version of this whole history thing, this whole story of the NES and just all this cool stuff. I mean, it's just a real short version, you know, and I took you from Japan all the way to your living rooms in a time span that covered, what, like 10 years? In like, I don't know, 10 minutes. So, there's just so much more stuff. But again, like I said, maybe we'll come back and revisit some of this stuff. We'll see. I don't know. But in the meantime, we got more great stuff coming up. I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. But in the meantime, I've got a jet. I'm DP, and I want to thank you so much for joining us here on Classic Junkie, and I hope to see you again. So in the meantime, all's left to say is, keep it classic.